There is a Stoic practice that, at first hearing, sounds almost perverse. Every day, you are to imagine losing what you value most. Your health is failing. Your wealth is disappearing. Your loved ones are dying. Your reputation is destroyed. Everything you've built, gone. This practice is called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. And Seneca, who lived through exile, the loss of his brother, the constant threat of execution under Caligula and later Nero, considered it one of the most essential exercises in philosophy. This is not pessimism. This is not catastrophizing in the modern psychological sense, where anxiety spirals into irrational fears. This is something more precise, the deliberate, rational contemplation of future adversity for the purpose of philosophical preparation. Seneca writes in his letters to Lucilius, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Most people spend their lives trying to avoid thinking about what could go wrong. They operate under the assumption that if they don't think about loss, it won't happen. They believe that imagining disaster somehow invites it. But Seneca understood something different. It is precisely this refusal to contemplate adversity that makes people vulnerable to it. The person who has never imagined loss is shattered when loss arrives. The person who has practiced losing everything can meet actual loss with equanimity. Let me explain what Seneca actually taught, and why this practice is not morbid but liberating. The philosophical foundation. First, understand the Stoic view of external goods. Seneca, like all Stoics, distinguished between what is truly yours and what is merely on loan from fortune. He writes, "Nothing is ours, Lucilius. Only time is ours. Nature gave us ownership of this one thing, fleeting and slippery as it is, and anyone who will can oust us from possession. Everything else, your possessions, your body, your loved ones, your status, these are not truly yours. They belong to fortune. They were given to you temporarily, and fortune can reclaim them at any moment without your permission. This is not cynical. This is factually accurate. You did not create your health. Genetics, luck, and circumstance gave it to you. You did not create your wealth, opportunity, timing, and forces beyond your control contributed to it. You did not create the people you love, they came into your life through circumstances you didn't design. These are gifts. And gifts, by definition, can be taken back. Seneca writes, "Shall I tell you what the real evil is? To cringe to the things that are called evils, to surrender to them the liberty of your soul, and instead of defending it, to lie down in submission. The evil is not losing external things. The evil is being unprepared for that loss, being destroyed by it, losing your capacity for reason and virtue when it happens." The nature of fortune. Seneca personifies fortune as a capricious goddess who gives and takes according to no rational plan. But this is a metaphor for a deeper truth. The universe operates according to laws that don't consider your preferences. Events happen. Accidents occur. People die. Empires fall. And you, with all your particular attachments, exist within this impersonal system. He writes in On Providence, God does not pamper a good man. He tests him, hardens him, and prepares him for himself. This is the Stoic understanding. Adversity is not punishment. It's the natural condition of existence. Things fall apart. Bodies deteriorate. Circumstances change. This is not tragic, this is just true. The question is not, will adversity come, but, will you be prepared when it does? And Premeditatio Malorum is the practice of preparation. The actual practice. So what does this practice actually look like? Seneca is specific. He writes, I have lost a friend. It is important to practice ahead of time for such contingencies. Let us examine the nature of friendship itself. Why do you grieve? Because you have lost a companion. Notice the method, you contemplate the specific loss. Not vaguely, but concretely. You imagine the person you love dying. Not in gruesome detail, this is not torture, but as a fact. You consider, they are mortal. They will die. That death could happen today. The same with every external good. Your career, imagine it ending tomorrow. Your health, imagine receiving a terminal diagnosis. Your home, imagine losing it. Your reputation, imagine it destroyed. Seneca practiced this daily. He would set aside time, particularly in the evening, to imagine various scenarios of loss. Not to make himself miserable, but to remind himself of what he actually possessed and on what terms he possessed it. He writes to Lucilius, "You are wrong to trust the promise of this world, which has often deceived us. Life is fleeting, and we must grasp it now." The first purpose, removing shock. The primary purpose of this practice is to remove the element of shock when adversity arrives. Seneca observed that most suffering comes not from the event itself but from the unexpectedness of it. People build their entire psychological structure on the assumption that certain things will never happen. And when those things do happen, the structure collapses. He writes, "Nothing happens to the wise man contrary to his expectation. We do not place him beyond the reach of fortune's missiles, but he knows how to withstand them." When you have imagined loss repeatedly, when loss arrives, there is recognition rather than shock. You think, this is the thing I prepared for. This is the scenario I rehearsed. This doesn't eliminate pain. If someone you love dies, you will grieve. But you won't compound that grief with the additional suffering of, "This shouldn't have happened. This is unfair. Why me?" You'll recognize, this is the nature of mortal existence. Everyone I love will die. Everyone I know is on loan from fortune. This was always going to happen eventually. Seneca describes meeting his own exile with this preparation. "I reflected that I could lose not only that country of mine, but that I could lose it justly. That the state could banish me, that fire or sword or any number of things could drive me out." Because he had imagined exile, when exile came, he was not destroyed by it. He was prepared. The second purpose, appreciation through impermanence. But there's a second, equally important purpose to this practice. It makes you appreciate what you have while you have it. This seems paradoxical. You would think that constantly imagining loss would make you anxious, would make you unable to enjoy what you possess. But Seneca discovered the opposite. He writes, "We never reflect on how soon we must part with everything. No one keeps firmly in mind that he is destined to die, no one stops to think about the impermanence of things." When you remember that what you have is temporary, you stop taking it for granted. You stop assuming it will always be there. You become present to it. Seneca teaches, "All the same, you should reckon on meeting trouble halfway, and do not wait for it to overtake you. Consider what things could happen, and how they might happen, and prepare yourself. Consider your loved ones." Most people treat them with casual disregard, assuming there will always be another conversation, another day, another chance to express appreciation. They postpone difficult conversations. They let petty resentments fester. They take presents for granted. But when you practice negative visualization, when you imagine, truly imagine, that this person could die tonight, your relationship to them transforms. Suddenly, you cannot afford to waste time on trivial conflicts. You cannot afford to leave important things unsaid. Seneca advises, "Let us greedily enjoy our friends, because we do not know how long this privilege will be ours." This is not anxiety. This is lucidity. This is seeing clearly what is true, everything is temporary. Everyone will die. Including you. And from this awareness comes genuine appreciation. The third purpose, building resilience. The third purpose is what Seneca calls hardening the soul. By repeatedly imagining adversity, you build psychological resilience. You train your mind to remain stable under pressure. He writes, "I have trained myself not only to obey God, but to agree with his decisions." I follow him because my soul wills it, and not because I must. This is crucial. The practice is not just intellectual. It's training. Like an athlete preparing their body through repeated exercise, you're preparing your mind through repeated visualization. Seneca recommends even physical practice. He would occasionally live deliberately simply, eating basic food, wearing plain clothes, sleeping on a hard surface, while saying to himself, "Is this the condition I feared?" He writes, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" By experiencing voluntary discomfort, you prove to yourself that poverty, simplicity, hardship, these are not unbearable. They're just different conditions. And you can maintain your virtue, your dignity, your inner freedom under any conditions. This removes fear. Fear thrives on the unknown. When you've imagined and even simulated adversity, it loses its power over you. The distinction from anxiety. Here's where we must be precise. Premeditatio Malorum is not the same as anxiety or catastrophizing. Modern anxiety is uncontrolled, repetitive worrying that spirals without resolution. It's the mind spinning on worst-case scenarios without purpose, without preparation, just generating suffering. Seneca's practice is controlled, purposeful, and rational. You set aside a specific time. You imagine specific scenarios. You consider what you would do. You remind yourself of philosophical principles. Then you let it go. He writes, "It is not that we actually suffer these things, but we anticipate suffering, and we are victims of panic before we are victims of reality." The anxious person imagines disaster and becomes paralyzed. The Stoic imagines disaster and becomes prepared. The anxious person adds irrational fears on top of realistic concerns. The Stoic removes irrational assumptions and sees reality clearly. Seneca continues, "There are more things likely to frighten us than there are to crush us." We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. So the practice is not to multiply fears, but to examine them rationally and discover that most of them, when faced directly, lose their power. The limits of external goods. This practice forces you to confront a fundamental question: if everything external can be taken from you, where does your happiness reside? The Stoic answer: in your character. In your virtue. In your capacity for reason and right judgment. These are internal goods that fortune cannot touch. Seneca writes, "Do you ask what is the proper limit to wealth? It is, first, to have what is necessary, and second, to have what is enough. But more fundamentally, no good thing renders its possessor happy unless his mind is reconciled to the possibility of loss." This is profound. You cannot enjoy what you possess if you're constantly afraid of losing it. The fear of loss contaminates the enjoyment of possession. But when you've contemplated loss, when you've accepted that loss is possible, even likely, you're free to enjoy what you have without anxiety. You hold things lightly. You appreciate them fully. But you don't cling to them desperately. Application to different domains. Seneca applies this practice to every domain of life. Wealth: I was rich. Poverty can happen. I imagined it. If it comes, I will maintain my dignity and virtue regardless. Health: I am healthy now. I could become ill tomorrow. I have rehearsed this. When illness comes, I will bear it philosophically. Loved ones: I have people I love. They are mortal. I could lose them today. I appreciate them now, knowing this. Reputation: I have good standing in society. Slander, misunderstanding, and political shifts could destroy it. I have prepared for this. My worth is internal. Life itself: I am alive now. I could die at any moment. I have meditated on this. Death holds no terror because I have faced it in imagination. This doesn't mean you don't care about these things. It means you don't base your fundamental peace on keeping them. Seneca writes, The wise man considers that nothing really belongs to him. Fortune can take things away, but it cannot take away my character. The paradox of preparedness. Here's something remarkable that Seneca observed: the person who is prepared for loss often suffers loss less frequently or less severely. Not because the universe rewards preparation, but because the prepared person acts differently. They don't make desperate choices. They don't cling so tightly that they break what they're holding. They maintain relationships better because they appreciate them. They make wiser decisions because they're not operating from fear. He writes, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Just as the sick man receives no injury from that which does not happen to him unexpectedly, so the wise man is not vexed by that loss which he has already contemplated. But even more, the prepared person recovers faster. When loss comes, they don't waste time in denial or bargaining. They accept, adapt, and continue. The ultimate test. The ultimate test of this practice comes when actual adversity arrives. And for Seneca, it came repeatedly. He was exiled by the Emperor Claudius for 8 years to Corsica. Later, he was forced to commit suicide by Nero, the emperor he had tutored. According to the historian Tacitus, when Seneca received the order to die, he was calm. He had practiced this moment his entire philosophical life. He comforted his friends. He opened his veins deliberately. He died as he lived, philosophically. This is not just a story about courage. This is what Premeditatio Malorum makes possible. The capacity to meet the worst that fortune can deliver and remain yourself. Seneca had written years before, "He who has learned to die has unlearned slavery." The practice today. So how do you practice this now? Each morning, take a few minutes. Consider what you value. Then, systematically, imagine losing each thing. Your job, imagine receiving notice today. What would you do? How would you respond? Could you maintain your dignity and virtue? Your health, imagine a diagnosis. How would you face it? What would change about how you spend your time? The people you love, imagine them gone. How would you want to have treated them while they were here? What do you need to say or do now? This is not to make yourself miserable. This is to make yourself present. This is to remove the illusion of permanence that prevents you from truly living. Then, having imagined loss, go through your day appreciating what you actually have. The morning coffee tastes better when you remember it's not guaranteed. The conversation with your friend is more meaningful when you remember they're mortal. The work you do matters more when you recognize your time is limited. Seneca writes, "Let us cherish and love old age, for it is full of pleasure if one knows how to use it." The best morsel is reserved for last. Premeditatio Malorum is not a practice of fear. It's a practice of freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of fortune. Freedom from the shock of loss. Freedom from taking life for granted. Freedom to appreciate what you have while you have it. Seneca's final teaching on this is simple: "Nothing will ever happen to me that I shall receive with a long face. I shall pay my taxes gladly." Now all the things which cause complaint or dread are like the taxes of life, things from which, my dear Lucilius, you should never hope for exemption. Accept that adversity will come. Prepare for it. Imagine it. Remove its power through familiarity. And then, having faced the worst in your mind, go out and fully live the present you actually have. This is not pessimism. This is realism. This is wisdom. And wisdom, Seneca knew, comes not from denying what's difficult, but from facing it deliberately, preparing for it rationally, and meeting it with virtue when it arrives. Practice Premeditatio Malorum. Not to suffer twice, once in imagination and once in reality. But to suffer less in reality because you've prepared in imagination. This is the path Seneca walked. And it's available to you right now.